Welcome to Train Signal. You are watching custom ESXi installations. So there's a few ways you can install ESXi. First is the interactive. Pop the CD in, walk through it manually, or do it via remote storage or something like that. But it's the normal, what we call manual process. Then you have the scripted installs. Those are done using install scripts or kickstart scripts. Other options that kind of utilize this are things like UDA. So we at Vero are big fans of UDA. It's a simple tool called the Ultimate Deployment Appliance that lets us automate ESXi installs. You can use auto deploy, which we'll have a lesson on, and that performs stateless installs of ESXi. So a server boots up, Pixie boots to the network, pulls down an ESXi image, and it basically is ready to go right then. And when you turn the server off, it goes away. So it installs kind of, well, I won't say installs, but does a quick install or deployment every time the server boots. And then there's custom installations. So you create a custom ESXi image that can be installed from media or auto deploy. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to create some custom images here, and we can dump those to ISO for manual installs, or we can dump them out to do things like auto deploy or other scripted installs. And we'll walk through that process. We build these images using the image builder, and the image builder is a set of confusing Power CLI commandlets. They're not that confusing, but it does have a process, so you just kind of have to walk through it. It'll make more sense when I walk you through it. But they let you build and maintain custom ESXi images, and then you can deploy those to your environment. Some things to be familiar with. 1. Software Depot. Software Depot is a collection of VIBs. These are these little software packages, or a VIB within ESXi, and image profiles. And you can point to these via either HTTP URL or a zip file. And the zip files are normally known as offline depots or offline bundles. So these are what you'll normally download. So we'll go to VMware and download an offline depot for ESXi. Or you'll go to QLogic and download an offline depot or bundle for a driver. And they're all in a zip file. Then you have a VIB, a vSphere installation bundle. It's a software package made for vSphere containing a driver or application. If you've ever used Linux, I always equate these to like a Red Hat RPM or a Debian.deb file or something like that. It's basically a packaged piece of software in a single file that contains the software, metadata, install information, all that. And then you have an image profile. An image profile is an ESXi image that has the base image and possibly other VIBs. And this is what we'll end up with. So we'll download an image. Basically, it's an image profile from VMware. You can customize it, dump out your own custom image profiles. You can have a library of them depending on what you need. But it's basically, think of an image profile as just a custom image. And here's a quick diagram. I mean, what I want you to see is the way to create a new image. Basically, we have an image profile that we pull along with ESXi VIBs, driver VIBs, any other OEM VIBs from like a server manufacturer. We dump these into the image builder, and then we spit out like an ISO image or just a Pixie bootable image that we'll use with auto deploy. So it's nothing too crazy. The only thing that's a gotcha is you do use Power CLI, but if you're like me and you're not great at Power CLI, it's pretty simple. You just walk through the commands. So some prereqs to use the image builder: you need Windows VM with 2 GB of disk space used to host Power CLI and store image builder software depots. I store my depots on a NAS file server, so you don't have to do that locally. You need vSphere Power CLI at least 5.0, which includes .NET and PowerShell. You need an ESXi offline bundle, which you can get from VMware.com. The only problem I have there is, and maybe you can figure it out, but I haven't figured out a way to get the offline bundle without a licensed copy of vSphere. The 60-day eval does not let you download that. So I just want to give you a heads up, because I've had an issue with that when I couldn't get to some of my licenses and couldn't grab it. So the last time I looked, and feel free to go look if you don't have license, maybe you're running in your lab on the evals, but I couldn't get the offline bundle. But the way you get to it is you go to the downloads like you would normally go to download ESXi installable version, and there is an offline bundle option there that's a zip file. And you also need vCenter Server 5.0. Using it, it's basically what you can do is create or edit an image. You can create a brand new image out of the VIBs that you pull in if you want to. I normally don't do that. I normally take an existing one and add in what I need, maybe remove what I don't. You can clone an existing image. That's normally what I do, is I clone the base images and then start monkeying around with them. And you can add and remove custom drivers. So you can add any drivers that you want to for, NIC drivers. I've got some TIG and GIG converged network adapter CNAs in my lab servers that don't have drivers that ship with vSphere, so I have to add those drivers in. So we're going to do the lab. It's a lot easier for me to walk you through the lab than it is showing you 9 or 10 different slides with a bunch of PowerCLI commandlet commands. So let's do that. We're going to create and edit an image profile. We'll then clone an existing image and then add and remove a custom driver. So with that, let's go ahead and jump over to the lab. I have RDP'd into my vCenter. Why? Because that's where I have PowerCLI installed. And so what we're going to do is a couple of things. First of all, over here on the right is my NAS server. And what you can see is a directory here somewhere. As soon as here it is. This is called update from ESXi 5. That's a great name. Basically, that is the offline bundle that I downloaded and I unzipped it. You can pull it in as a zip file. I just expanded it into a directory. It's up to you. But that's the file I downloaded. I think it was called update from ESXi 5.zip from VMware. That's my offline bundle. I have a driver here, which is a QLogic driver that I also unzipped. Again, you can get it in if you want to via zip files, but that's up to you. Either way works fine. So let's see, PowerCLI, expand this a bit. I can't go any more to the right because of the DOS prompt window, so we'll just have to suffer through it together. So the first thing you want to do is add a software depot. Odds are you want to add the base ESXi image to the depot. So to do that, you use the add ESX software depot PowerCLI command. Again, feel free to use your tab completion. It makes it easy for you. And so you want to do that, and you will say add ESX software depot. You want to give it a path to the depot, Z drive, it's update. So tab, update from ESXi, hit enter. It'll think real hard about it, and it'll add the depot. Pretty simple, right? I'm not going to add the other one yet. First thing I want to do is say get ESX image profile. This will give a list of all the image profiles that we have access to. And if I actually want to cut that down, it's into select name. So that will only select the name field, which allows me to expand out these names. So we have 4 images. Those are part of what you download. So you basically get 2 versions with tools and 2 versions without VMware tools. The S on the end is for a security update. So you'll notice that the dates on these 401 aren't as new as these other ones. It basically has to do with the fact that the S up ones are security patches only. The standard, I won't say standard because that's already used, but the regular ones, the non-S, have the latest bug fixes, security, everything. So VMware started offering the security ones a while back, and that way if you certify a build of ESXi and then there's a critical security fix, you don't have to certify a bunch of other patches along with it. So there you go. Now let's create a new one by cloning one. That's probably what we'll do. So we'll do new ESX image profile. We'll clone the profile. And we need to give it the version of this one, so ESXi-5.1.0-20130402. Yeah, you can't tab complete that. -standard. And then we need to give it a name, so we'll do vcap demo profile. Enter. Oh, and it wants the vendor. You could either add that as a -vendor option, or anything that's required, it'll ask. So since I'm building this one, I call it Nash Corp. Again, you could have done -vendor here and given it the vendor name. I just didn't do that. All right, so we've got that, and now let's do get ESX image profile, and we see we into select name, and we see that we now have our image. Yay! So the next thing that we want to do is do get ESX software package. This gives us a list of VIBs that we have access to. These are the ones that came pre-packaged from VMware. There's no QLogic driver in here. We have to add that. So to add that, we would need to add the depot. So again, let's see, that would be add ESX software depot Z, and it starts with a Q. Oh, and it wants a file. Zip file bundle will work, and it adds that. So now we do get software package, and let me see if I can find it, because you'd think it'd put it at the bottom, but it does not. Net starts with net. There it is, net QLGE. That's the one I just added right there. Let's see, that is under ESX base. So if we go up here, ESX base, and there's no net QLGE, so it shows that we added that. So easy enough. Now let's add the software package to our profile. That is done by add software package, ESX software package. Okay, not depot package. So then you say what the image profile name is, which is VCap demo profile, and the name of the software package, which is net-QLGE. And it's now added. So let's see. And let's see, to confirm that, we can do get ESXi image profile, give it the name of the profile again, and then we do select, span property, vib list. And if we look, netQLGE is in there. What if I want to remove a software package? Well, remove ESX software package. I don't know, how about ESX base? No, that's probably not a good idea. Something, well, I'm not actually going to boot this, so I don't guess it really matters. Let's do net-enic. And let's see, remove dash image profile is VCap demo profile dash software package again is net-enic. So get it expanded into vib list. There's fnic. But enic is now gone. So we've added a driver, we've removed a driver, and now we're ready to save our profile. So that's really easy, actually. We do export. Export ESX image profile. Again, give it the profile name using dash image profile, VCap demo profile, and then we have to pick what we want to export it to. So we can export it to an ISO file or to a bundle. First, I'll do an ISO file. And you just tell it where you want it to go. Oops. Z VCap demo profile.iso. And if we look over here, scroll down, VCap demo profile ISO, and we can see the file size increasing as it writes it out. So the next thing that we'll look at is just doing it as a bundle. And this is basically going to spit out a zip file. Similar to the zip file that I added or I expanded to get our first repository, our update from ESXi. This will be what you want to create when we get to the auto deploy lesson. So the auto deploy lesson is going to build upon this. You're going to have to create an image and bring it into the image builder. Even if all you're doing is taking a base image from VMware, you're going to want to clone it and create a new one under your name and use it there. So you will still want to export it. So again, for the sake, we'll make sure we do it again. ESX image profile, again the image name, cap demo profile. This time we want to export to bundle, z vcap demo profile.zip. And again we jump back, scroll down, give it a second to refresh. There's the zip. We'll wait till it finishes, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's expanded. What I'd know how to do if I were you for the exam, I would know how to open PowerCLI. I would know how to add software depot and point it to a zip file or directory. I would know how to clone it using the new image command. New ESX image profile command, dash clone profile. Give it the name of the existing, and then the name you want to create. And then you can use add ESX software package or remove ESX software package to add or remove drivers. And then you're going to use the export ESX image profile to dump it back out. And that finished, so we double click him, say yes. And here's the directories that we created. There's all of our VIBs. Let's see, net. CNIC is not in there, QLGE is in there, and there's your QLEG driver that we added. So that is how you create a new image profile. It's how you add a driver and how you remove a driver. So with that, back to the slides. Some advanced bootloader options. This is kind of fuzzy stuff, and the reason I say fuzzy stuff is that this isn't something you normally do. This is something you do if you need to pass something to the kernel or change the way vSphere boots. But it's in the blueprint. I personally don't think you're going to get any questions on this. It's one of those things, again, that is very hard to test in that sort of environment. But anyway, during installation, you can hit Shift-O to enter advanced boot options. So you may have seen this when the yellow screen comes up, vSphere boots. Down at the bottom, it's got some hotkeys. One of them is Shift-O. Here's an example. Basically, if you want to run a kickstart script. So this is not an end-all be-all, but this is just an example. Kickstart KS equals, and it gives a URL for the kickstart script and a config file, name server, IP address, netmask, and gateway. So you can manually pass that through. That's about the only good use for advanced boot options I can think of and that I've ever used. Going through VMware documentation, that's about it as well. So again, you can do that. I don't know, they're not going to have you run a kickstart script in the lab because I don't think they're going to have you build ESX hosts because you get 2 ESX hosts to start with, but on the blueprint. Now the kernel options. I mean, these are kind of the same way. So I don't expect to see these on exam because it's really, well, I mean, these are used for kind of doing PXE boot installs. So the boot config file lets you pass options to the kernel, primarily again during boot. And the reason that you would pass these is, again, a PXE boot like we just saw on the last slide. So these are passed to the kernel during a regular boot when we hit Shift-O. If you want to pass these during an install, you have to do it using the boot config file, boot.cfg. So it's provided in the ESXi installer, and you modify the kernel option line of that file, and you add the commands like we just saw. The way you get to that file is you grab an ISO file like the one we exported from Image Builder, you open it up and edit it, and you'll see that file right there in the root directory of that. And you edit that and save it back and then burn it to disk or use the ISO like you normally would. But that's how you normally pass along kernel commands. And again, an example of this would be the PXE boot. You can pass other kernel options. That's not something you normally do. It's not something that I would ever do outside of VMware support or some sort of a driver problem where I needed to pass along some information to a driver. So I honestly thought it was a bit odd to see this on the blueprint. I think it's just one of those things that they put in there kind of as an advanced feature set for you to need to know how to do. But I would be surprised to see it on the exam because they're going to have to give you everything. I mean, they're going to tell you what you need to pass, the exact syntax, and then you don't, as far as I've seen on the exam, and I'll be honest, the one I took, I don't have the capability to really get to that console level of an ESXi host. So again, just know that's for passing things to the kernel, most often used for PXE boot. And that's it for this lesson. So the big pieces of this lesson are Image Builder. Know how to do image builders, know how to clone a profile, know how to add or remove a driver, know how to export it. I think these would make great exam questions because I've said it before, anything that you can dump as output, a file, a config, an image, makes for great lab questions and something that can be graded later. So make sure you know how to do those steps. Do it in your lab if at all possible. Get at least reasonably comfortable with these Power CLI commandlets. It is documented in the documentation set. I mean, it's in there. But I'm going to tell you that, again, you don't want to run through digging up that stuff every time. So that's it for this lesson. Keep this stuff in mind as we move on to a later lesson such as auto deploy where we use this. But I look forward to seeing you on the next one.